Hey, this is Malika of Evanston Live TV, and we have with us today Second Ward candidate. She is running for Alderman of the Second Ward, Miss Darlene Cannon. Welcome, Darlene.
Thank you. Thank you.
First, I want to do a little housekeeping because I see we have some guests popping on. They're excited to hear the candidate. So I'm going to ask that everybody please mute the audio so that we can hear the candidate. Okay. And I put a little instructions there in the chat for everyone. And welcome everyone to Evanston Live TV. All right. Ooh, you are loved, Darlene. You got people popping in one by one here. This is awesome. Okay. Please, everyone, please be sure to mute yourselves. Okay, Darlene, so let's get this rolling. I know people are looking forward to hearing your platform. The thing with Darlene is many of us have seen her at the council meetings. So we've heard her passion for her community. I mean, I don't think you missed a council meeting. Did you?
I missed a few, yes. In some capacity,
Yeah, I swear it's like any issue that's going on in the city, best believe Darlene was stepping up to that podium to express how she felt about it. And you were very bold, very strong about it. And I think that's what people like. It was like Lori Keenan, like you all were kind of like in the same group, just fighters for what was right. So Darlene, what do you think is the difference between, clearly you're a strong activist. What do you think will be the difference between being an activist and being an alderman? Because let me tell you, there are issues that I truly care about, definitely. And someone had asked if I would ever run for alderman or mayor, and I was like, hell no. There was no way I would run for office, because you have to take on so much. You have to care about everything. You have to care about everything. So what do you think is the difference between you running for alderman and you being an activist all these years?
Well, as a lifelong Evanston resident, I've spent the majority of my life in the Second Ward. And so I've seen the changes in the community, the city as a whole, as well as, my own neighborhood. And as an activist, I get out there and I speak, from my heart, about, whether it's projects or taxes or anything to do with the budget that's that I feel is necessary. But I want to be a part of change. I believe that citizens need a voice. Marginalized communities need a voice. And I want to, engage the community, have them be a part of decisions that are impacting their lives. I have sat on the sideline and seen things that have impacted, my and my ability, as well as others' ability to be able to continue to live in this town. And I want people to know directly the long-term impact that these changes and these decisions that are made behind the scenes. I want them to know about these decisions that are being made, and I want them to have a seat at the table.
I know there's quite a few Second Ward residents that are on. Please be sure you all to submit your questions in the chat. And we're definitely going to take some questions for Darlene. So please submit your questions in the chat. So Darlene, you definitely want, I love that you want the residents to know what's going on, because that's actually been an issue uh, with Evanston, especially for predominantly Black communities. You know, they're always saying that we don't come out to hear what's going on. We tend to be late after decisions have already been made. What are your plans to make sure, if you were alderman today, to make sure that information is actually getting out there? Because our communications department at the city, some people don't even know we have a communications department at the city. Okay. And they get paid a whole lot of money. Let me tell you, they're like six figures. And, you know, a good portion of Evanston doesn't even know what's happening. So, how do you intend to change that?
Um, well, I think that before things go through, and whether it's a project where it's going to go through DAPR, design and planning review, or zoning, um, I think that the people who are directly impacted by it, they should be the first stop. Um, and we should, if a developer wants to build something in their neighborhood, um, the developer should actually present it to the residents first, and hear what the residents have to say. Often, we hear that developers can build stuff as of right, and that there's nothing that we can do. But there should be something that we should be able to do, because this is impacting people's lives. We talk about equity and transparency and accountability, but we don't actually do that. So, like I said, again, I think the first thing is to sit down with the residents, let the developer or whomever explain to them what he wants to do, and then he or she needs to listen and hear how the residents feel about it, and then we go from there. We shouldn't allow people to then just go ahead and build or increase taxes, and not um, give the residents a voice or be concerned with how they are going to be impacted by it.
Now, I remember you going to city council actually to speak about development in the second ward, as far as affordable housing. What is your stance on affordable housing? Because I know in an article I had read in the Tribune, you had stated um, that you didn't want a certain development built that was for affordable housing um, near you. But yet I know you've gone to city council and you fought for affordable housing. So where are you with that?
Well, the particular project that you're referring to is How, and that project was presented as affordable housing to the community, but it's not affordable housing. It's supportive housing, and that's a whole nother category. And I feel that affordable housing, supportive housing is needed. Everyone deserves a right to have a roof over their head, just like everyone deserves health care. My concern is that, number one, um, the residents who were directly impacted were not afforded the opportunity to voice their concerns until they had already um, designed a project. But my second concern is that Evanston has a practice of putting these types of developments in the surrounding area, which is Black and brown. Um, and if we're really going to follow fair housing laws, or we're going to really talk about equity, then we should scatter them all over the city. I heard lots of talk from other aldermen saying that that makes sense to put it over there because property is cheaper over there. So we need to have conversations about what are we really going to do? Are we going to listen to residents, Or are we just going to simply dump on residents and then talk about the equity lens?
Okay, okay. Because I know many people were wondering where you really stood as far as affordable housing, and then there was a development for the alternative school that was going to be built in the second ward, or was it already built in the second ward?
Well, it was built in the second ward, and yes, there I did speak out about that too, because um, again, there was a when they made the change to change the zoning, and the change that was made to allow the alternative school didn't simply change the industrial zoning for the second ward, it changed it for the entire city. Um, and it was done without submitting paperwork. It was done, if you will, behind the scenes. And then when the city normally notifies residents, they put an ad like in the Tribune or the Sun Times, say for like the last 10 or 15 years, they've used the Tribune. For this particular development, they used the Sun Times. So everyone was looking for it in one place and it was actually in another. Um, the fact is that, in my opinion, that there was more than enough room to house those students at ETHS. I worked at ETHS for 7 years, and putting kids off campus, I don't think that in that small space. I mean, personally, I wouldn't want my child going there. I know that all kids cannot attend ETHS. That's a given. But I didn't want to see the kids isolated, not being able to enjoy any form of sunlight for how many hours a day. And there was no, to me, at the beginning, the way it did make it really clear as to whether there was gonna be, as far as them getting to and from school, whether that was gonna be regulated. Whereas when they go out of Evanston, it's more regulated. So those were my concerns.
Okay, okay. And one of the main concerns right now in Evanston, the fight is the budget.
Mm-hmm.
All of these developments cost money. The city, of course, has to make money, but many people believe, there's been some developments that really didn't need to happen, like Robert Crown.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we needed a new Robert Crown, but did we need to pay that much money for Robert Crown? And um, so, if you were made alderman today, and you had a meeting with Erica Storley, what would be the first thing you would talk to her about with the budget for the second ward as well as Evanston as a whole?
Well, I think that, my conversation would be no different with her now than it would have been, now as a non-elected official, would be to talk about, the impact of Robert Crown, and the long-term impact of Robert Crown, the burden that it's going to cause on our community. And we talk about the limited population of people who really will be able to utilize Robert Crown. I'm not sure that there's any other community in the area that has 2 NHL hockey rinks. And do we have that many people in this town who are playing hockey or ice skating? I would, talk about, the spending and, the impact. Again, I was sat on a award meeting the other night and they're talking about spending $1 million on a park. And, for safety reasons, obviously, things need to be fixed in the park, but do we need to spend $1 million right now when people could possibly be evicted because, people have lost their jobs due to COVID. People don't have health care. People are food insecure. Is there some other way that we could use that money more responsibly? Um, Another thing is we're buying new cars. I mean, do we absolutely need all these new cars right now? Is there some other way that we could be helping um, our residents, the citizens who live here and have children who go to school here and they're struggling? So,
Yes, yes, that brings us to COVID because realistically, we probably won't get back to any sort of normalcy. So probably the summer. That's if the vaccine and all that pans out. So we're looking at business owners. I mean, just walking down Green Bay, I'm seeing so many businesses are closing down. It's really sad. It it's really sad. The places I would go to regular, and they're gone. They're just boarded up and gone. And with COVID, we are definitely looking at this second wave as people hanging on by a thread just to survive. People who have worked hard all their life find themselves now in at food banks, in line. It's been a whole new reality for people. So um, in terms of speaking with the city manager, how would you tell her we need to disperse money to make sure people keep a roof over their heads and that businesses can stay open?
well, as far as like individual citizens, I think that we need to have some sort of resource to offer them some sort of if financial assistance, and we also need to look at how often I talk to seniors who um, claim that there are inspectors who come out and are harassing them, finding them for, maybe there's something with a tree that needs to be cut down or there's something with their door. We need to look at a way of just not simply finding people, but finding maybe they're not fixing these things because they can't afford to. And that's a whole nother issue. So we need to find some way to assist families. And Yeah, I mean, basically, I think, assistance and, food right now. I mean, is there any way that we could offer, um, healthcare for people who need it? I'm sure that there's lots of other cities and communities who are in the same predicament we are, and that, we need to look at how we can help, our families and keep everyone healthy, safe, and stable during these difficult times.
Mm, mm. Um, Now, I know one of the questions I've been getting from people, they're like, you have to ask them what is their promise to the Black community. So we figure Fifth Ward, Second Ward, Eighth Ward has the majority population of people of color.
Mhm.
What is your promise to the Black?
Well, I want to dig in as far as what we can do to make Evanston. We always talk about how Evanston is more livable, but in many cases is it affordable? Because I know that firsthand, I know a lot of people who want to live here, and um, they find it difficult because it's not affordable anymore. So I think we need to, and then I don't mean just like affordable housing as far as like apartments, but people who would like to buy homes, people who grew up here, um, people who are considering to move outside of Evanston because of the lack of affordability. But I think we need to develop more of a community sense, where we're supporting one another. I grew up, like I said, I grew up in the Second Ward, and um, it was a time where, if you were doing something wrong as a child, an older adult would, tell your parents on you, um, and you would be upset, but you respected them. And I think that we've lost that sense of community, of caring and being supportive of one another. We always, in my community, in my family, our house was the house where all the relatives came and stayed when they didn't have a place to stay. And so I think building, um, a sense of ownership of, being supportive of one another.
Um, Another question that had come up was like you and the current alderman of the second ward were friends or are. I don't know what your relationship is now. So I was just wondering what made you decide to run against your friend, and what is it that you feel you will do differently from the current alderman?
Right. So I didn't know Peter at all. I didn't know him in
Okay.
high school. I didn't, I mean, I didn't know him at all. I think he knew my husband, but before coming onto the
I know he used
political.
to like get you concert tickets and things like that. You were like, "Oh, you going to a concert? Peter got me tickets, and Peter did this,
Yeah,
Peter did this."
Peter was very nice to give my husband and I tickets to the Chessmans. Um, I think the first time I went was like not last year, year before last. But I mean, I didn't really know him.
Mhm.
Um, I think that what I want to do differently is I would have more of a consistent line of communication with the residents, not just simply ward meetings, but maybe coffees, even now since we're all on Zoom, even after, the um, um, COVID has subsided a little bit, just kind of getting together with either block clubs, precinct captains, and find out exactly, what they're hearing from their neighbors about what they need, what they want. Um, and taking those concerns directly to council and to the city manager, and see how we can take those things and implement them.
Okay. So what I'm getting from you, Darlene, is you really want more of a sense of the second ward, Evanston as a whole, to feel more like home and family, just more intimate. It seems like there's been a separation between the residents and then you have the city council. And it's like
Right.
this huge gap between us, and decisions are being made, and we're just kind of off over here, just having to accept it. And so you're trying to bring bring us as one together, making
Mhm.
decisions together. Am I getting you right
I
there?
think so. I mean, I've heard people describe residents in Evanston as caves, which is citizens that are virtually against everything. And I don't find that to be true. I mean, I like responsible planning. So again, if we're saying that we're going to build a building, um, we need to be putting the affordable housing that we need. We have families that need 2, 3 bedroom, even 4 bedroom apartments. So why are we allowing developers to tell us that they can't afford it and that they're going to put in micro units or 1 bedrooms? If we're really about community and we're about family, then we'll address the real needs of the citizens. If we know that a lot of our families are that 13% of our families are food insecure, then why are we increasing taxes? Because that's going to make it even harder for citizens to be able to feed their families. I mean, these are like basic things that we should be taking into consideration. We should be considering, marginalized communities every time we make decisions. it's about, morals and ethics. And, that's what I want to see brought back. I don't want to see you try citizens who speak up to be ostracized.
Mm, mm. Um, Everyone that has joined us, thank you so much. Please be sure to put your questions in the chat to ask the candidate. Now, Anya Tanyavudi has sent in a question. She says to you, Darlene, thank you for your commitment to Stakeholder Voice. I hear your genuine love and respect for the Second Ward resident voice. We have our own solutions when we are invited to participate. What strategies do you, I don't know what this is, Anya, you said, do you employ to gain stakeholder insight? Can you tell us about a time that you've empowered stakeholder voice in a way that is not currently done at City Council or in the Second Ward? I don't know what you meant by the employee part, Anya, so you could put in the chat what you meant by that part. But Darlene, do you understand the question?
I think so. I think that she's asking, how in the past have I included stakeholders to make them aware of things that would be impacting them, and also how do I make them aware so we can, I guess, I'm assuming to share it with the larger community. I think that, when I worked with Mary and Claire and Mike, and we were informing people about Robert Crown and the long-term impact that it was going to have on residents, we reached out to different organizations. I would talk to people just, when I would see them. And I think that for a lot of people initially, it might not have registered. But I think in the end, like right now, it does. But we had meetings. I think you guys attended the meeting we had at Fleetwood, and where we talked about Robert Crown. And I think we went and we talked to people within our groups, and then we tried to encourage people outside of once we thoroughly inform people, then we encourage them to talk to people as well, and then have people come to us and express their concerns, so that we could, by word of mouth, basically. So I'm not sure if that's really a good answer for Anya or not.
Let's see. I think she said the better word she wanted to use was utilize. What strategies? Yes, what strategies do you utilize to gain stakeholder perspective? She said, yes, that answers. That was what she was looking for.
Oh, okay.
Okay, and Marsha wants to know, you had stated you will be holding more community meetings to hear more of the voice of the people. She wants to know how often you plan to do these meetings.
We could do them, I think it would be based on the residents, I mean, usually board meetings are once a month, but we could check in like every 2 weeks, it would be a little more casual, if you will. And we could just, talk. I think it depends on, what is pending or urgent for residents, to see how often we meet and engage,
Okay. Okay, Marsha, that answers your question. If anyone else has any questions, please be sure to put them in the chat. This would be a good time to get intimate answers here, as opposed to, as the race starts to build up, it's going to be harder to get your questions in. We do have a big forum coming up January 7th with the Second Ward candidates, the 8th Ward candidates, and the 4th Ward candidates. So that's going to be pretty good. So Darlene, I would ask you, what would be a question you would ask the current second ward alderman?
Um, at the forum, a
Mm-hmm.
question. Um, I guess, I'd like to hear why he's running again.
Mm. And and why would you ask that? Why would you ask that question? Why is he running again?
Um, I'd like to, hear, what are his thoughts? Why is he running again? What is he gonna do differently this term that he hasn't done in the last 2 terms? So, and what is he gonna do to engage the community and regain our trust?
Hmm. We have another question. Darlene, what are you enthusiastic about? What are you not so enthusiastic about related to the opportunity to represent Second Ward?
Um, I'm hopeful and I'm optimistic, and I want, I don't want, to hear about or know that people are struggling. Like I said, I can't begin to say again how much I think it's just a requirement, that people deserve housing and they deserve health care, and people deserve not to struggle, and I want to see what we can do as a city to decrease that struggling. It's very hard on parents right now. Parents are Many parents have to still work, and while they are also their kids are e-learning. That's hard, and many parents are frontline workers, and so every day they're putting their lives at risk going out, and they're working in these stores or in the doctor's offices to actually serve us. And um and then, if we make decisions that impact them in a negative way, that makes their life just that much harder. um I think, the thing that I think that makes me, guess, afraid is that, afraid that, I won't be able to help people, that need help. That's the thing that, I think saddens me, that I won't be able to help families that need help. So,
Mm, mm. This is great because I don't think you and I have ever had just a real sit down conversation. I think this is the first sit down conversation we've actually had. Usually there's like a big group of people and everybody's inserting their opinions. And, you would just kind of be sitting there like kind of quiet and listening. But clearly you were a woman sitting at that table with a vision. With some strong thoughts about how things should move in the city.
yeah.
Um, I'm curious to know. I know we talked about the difference between you being an activist and you being running for alderman, and the difference you see in it. Um, was this something that you've been thinking about for quite a while, running for office?
Well, in the beginning, I got involved because of the How Project. And then once that was actually gonna go through, I could have, just said, okay, I'm just gonna go back to life as usual. And then I had people like Betty Esther pulling on me, saying, no, you can't do that. You need to look at that. We have a housing issue in Evanston. And I started attending more meetings, and she, with her pulling me to get engaged and find out more about housing. I've learned about CMP. I learned about Harley Clark. I learned about so many different things, and I think I was maybe like 2 years into doing all this, and someone kind of said that, I think you should run for alderman, and I was like, hmm. you know, I hadn't. I guess going in, like I said, going back to the How project, I thought that that we were going to be listened to, and that somehow we were going to be able to change the direction of the project. Um, and once we were defeated, um, but I had seen other things that had happened in favor of other residents in different parts of town that, kind of piqued my curiosity as to how people in the second ward were treated versus how people in the first ward or the fourth ward were treated. Um, and then I, felt like at many times, I would go up there and speak and pour my heart out at city council, and nothing would change. Um, so then, I kind of determined that I wanted to be the voice of change. I wanted to be the voice of the voiceless. So here I am.
And I'm curious, based on the current alderman, what are some things that you have liked that he's done that you want to build upon and continue if you become alderman?
If I were elected, I think that um, I think the program, well, naming Dodge, Black Lives Matter Way, that's a good thing. I think that the, I don't know if it's Alternatives to Police program that he's involved with. I think that that's a good program. I, um, I mean, those are the two things that stand out to me. But I mean, there could be so many other things that he's done that I'm not aware of. So I don't want to say like like those are the only two things, because I don't know. You know.
Okay. Sean has a question. How do you envision public safety and what do you feel are the pressing needs for the second ward?
Um. Let's see. Well, public safety. I think about um public safety as we talk or we engage about the police budget. And I often think about, do we need an armed police officer going to your car to tell you that your headlight is out? So I think, us reimagining police, and us also as far as, use how we utilize police. Is it necessary to call the police on a neighbor who has music too loud? And I think that those types of things are all centered around building a stronger sense of community, and us being able to have dialogue with one another about issues that someone does that bothers us. I'm sorry, what was the last? Go ahead.
Uh, well, to um, add to his question, um, well, one, he said, what do you feel are the pressing needs of the second ward? But I have a follow-up question after you answer that.
Um, I think I've heard that many people, looking for housing. Um, I've had many people who just simply, want to be acknowledged. They want to know that if they write or call their alderman, that they'll get a response back. Um, Many people, especially near ETHS, are concerned about traffic. The volume of traffic that comes through when school is in between ETHS and King Arts. It's a lot of volume, and there's small children who are in these neighborhoods, and um, there's just a concern that people aren't slowing down, people are hurrying to try to drop their kids off at school, and that there's no consideration for the impact that it has on the residents who live in those areas. So, I mean, those are the biggest concerns. I mean, people, other people talked about how simple things like how they preferred when we do uh, the annual cleanup twice a year. They liked it better when we did the dumpsters because often they have people who dump things behind their house and then they're responsible for paying to get it removed. I mean, there's just simple things that I think people want. You know, people just basically want to live their lives and not be, you know, tax burdened, fee burdened, and I think that people want community, but they haven't felt a sense of community in so long, so they don't know, you know, actually where to begin.
Okay. We actually are down to, we only have maybe 4 more minutes. If anyone else had a question, I want to make sure the community gets their questions in because I'll be asking more questions on January 7th as well. Any more questions? And we can probably get one more question in. Um, the second ward is not policed at the same rate as the sixth and seventh. How will you use your role in council to reduce the expression of racism on Ward 2?
Yeah, we are policed at a different level. I think that, you know, again, it's a sense of community for people understanding that it's not okay to call the police on your neighbor because of loud music or because they didn't put their trash out properly. Nor, I think that a lot of times there's an assumption that people are suspicious because maybe because of the color of their skin or because of the way they're dressed. So we need to try to you know, get past that and really have dialogue and conversation about, you know, those perceptions that people are guilty and up to something
You
suspicious.
think we've
And
had enough conversation and dialogue about that? I mean, I think we're conversation dialogue out on
right, right,
perceptions and you know, so what would be the action at this point?
right. I mean, I think, you know, when I think about like people calling the police unnecessarily, or I think about people, black people barbecuing in the park and stuff like that. So I think that, you know, maybe we're not talking to the right the individuals who are actually doing it, but also to maybe there needs to be some sorts of um, penalties, you know, involved. I don't know. I mean, I think that still needs to be, but I think calling the police on someone who looks suspicious, but they're not, they're just, you know, black and wearing a hoodie, or they have dreads in their hair, you know, that's not that's not a valid reason to call the police, you know.
That's interesting, a penalty to put on them.
Well, I mean, I don't know if it's a penalty or a warning or something. I mean, you think about it that, you know, when you call the police on someone and they're not doing anything wrong, there's a chance if they're black that, you know, their life is at risk. So we have to think about those things before we actually pick up that phone to call the police on someone.
What would that penalty be on a
I,
non-black
I
person who
don't
calls the
know.
police? Huh?
I mean, I don't know exactly. I mean, I think that's a part of a longer and bigger conversation, but there has to be something that some sort of consequence, because we can't continue on this path. And, you know, innocent people are going to jail. In many cases, unfortunately, people die. I mean, we have to think about the impact that they're having on our community and on young people's lives.
Okay, well, I would be behind you 100% on that penalty because it happens a lot in Evanston. I mean, I hear Evanston police officers talk about, you'd be surprised how many white people call us for just nonsense. Just a Black person walking down the street in Evanston, and they will call the police if they're walking down their block and they feel like they don't belong there. It happens a lot. So I would love to hear more about, how you would plan to bring about a penalty so that they would think twice before dialing 911
Right.
on a Black person just simply walking down the street or sitting in their car in front of their own house. Things like that happen all the time in Evanston. But I want to thank you so much, Darlene, for your time, and look forward to hearing you again January 7th with the other candidates. And it's been great to just get to know you a little bit more, hear what's been going on. Usually you're either at the podium on fire or you're in meetings and you're just quiet and listening and checking things out. So thank you for coming on today and sharing your vision for Evanston with us today. And I want to thank all the guests who joined us today. Thank you so much for your questions. Those were some great, every single question was a good one, was a really good one. So thank you. And you all please be sure to tune in. We will have the incumbent, Peter Braithwaite, on Monday at 12 o'clock. And we'll have both candidates back January 7th. And we'll hear them, I won't say going at it, but they're going to be getting down to some issues. And I definitely want the residents to have a voice on January 7th. And pretty much I'm actually going to turn it over more to the residents on the 7th. So I think it's all about the voice of the people. So thank you all so much for your time today. And you all stay tuned for more.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.